After 3 weeks of travel, JoJo and Zeppeli would finally arrive to London, England. Although little had JoJo expected, his homeland had changed, and unfortunately for the worse. It started as they made their way from the outer port, preparing to dock and make way to the mainland. For some reason, a fog had set upon the land, and even more so, the fog was so thick it had all but blotted out the sun. The sky, even during the daytime, a dull hue of dark gray, almost indistinguishable from night. "This is no ordinary force, JoJo," Zeppeli would say. "This is the work of Wotan." "Wotan?" JoJo asked. "Of course. Can you not feel it? This miasma in the air. It is by no coincidence that the sun has been blotted out to counter against the weakness of the stone mask. But why? Why block out the sun? Because it is the weakness to those who use the power of the mask, and even more so, to shroud the land in darkness, to bathe inside of its evil corruption. It only strengthens his power. We must tread carefully, JoJo." The two would continue moving on by foot. The streets were eerily quiet, as if no one had even stepped out of their homes. They could only hear their own footsteps as they traversed. But it didn't take long for them to realize that they were being followed. "I'm sure you can sense it as well as I. Indeed, it almost feels palpable for them to hide like this. Are they friend or foe? Only time will tell, JoJo. Remember to concentrate on your breathing. You must stay relaxed. I can feel that your heartbeat is beginning to rise. It's hard for it not to. I haven't been home in so long. When I left, things were so different. To think of everything that's changed in the meanwhile, all because of him. That is why you must focus on your breathing even more, your emotions. Should you lose control, you will lose focus over your Haman, and you will lose your sense of self. The time for justice is upon us. All will be made right. Have faith, JoJo." They continued their walks through the streets of London. Before long, the enemy finally had decided to make their move. Although it wasn't who they expected, they were greeted by a man wearing what appeared to be a green three-piece suit, a fedora, and a gas mask. He pointed a gun towards the both of them. Although thankfully, he had the decency to tell both of them to duck. They immediately did so as he fired shots into the fog far ahead. There could be wailing sounds echoing from the fog as a group of what could only be described as pale-skinned monsters, their teeth bearing like fangs, began approaching. "Yeah, nice fresh piece of sun lead, waiting just for you. Sorry about that, travelers. We don't really get many new people around these parts. No one brave enough to come through these streets." "It seems fortune has shined upon us, JoJo," Zeppeli would say, as he turned to the beast in question. "Hold on now," the masked figure spoke up. "I didn't say anything about you all getting into a fight with these luggers. You won't stand much of a chance against them. Thank you for the vote of confidence, masked friend. But I assure you, it is not us who should be running from these fiends, but it is the other way around. Yes, the time has come. Join me, JoJo. Let us show them the true power of Hamon. JoJo would immediately don the helmet of fate, his clothing transforming into that of gold and of a fine blue, the cape bellowing in the winds itself as he followed behind his master, the two of them working together in conjunction, battling against zombies, the dead having been brought back to life. The masked figure in question couldn't believe his eyes. The one dressed in the white with the top hat, his fist was striking against these vile undead creatures, and even more so, he was striking them down permanently. And the colorful golden one, he was shooting off rays of energy, turning them into a ball of fire, setting the enemy ablaze and burning them to a crisp. It was only but for a short moment, but they were all defeated. No way. Now the masked figure in question had his gun trained on them. If this is what they were capable of, then were they even more of a threat? Hold on, Mr. Speedwagon, sir. We're right behind you. Keep your guns trained, men. Who are these buggers? I have no clue, but I intend to find out. All right, you bunch of freaks. Where the hell did you come from? And how were you able to do what you just did? Calm down. I'm from here. We're here to help. Likely story. No one comes around here looking to help. That's what we heard once before. Can't afford to take those type of chances ever again, now can we? It is true, Mr. Zappelli would say. We have come to liberate this land from evil. This boy, this here is his home, and he has come to save it. His home? Yes. Please, allow me to remove my helmet. They kept their guns trained on JoJo as he slowly lifted the helmet of fate from his head, revealing his face proper. My name is Jonathan Joestar, son of George Joestar of the Joestar family. Wait, did you say Joestar? The masked vigilante spoke. It can't be. The last word from the Joestar family was that Lord George and his son perished in an accident back in Egypt over 3 years ago. The only survivor was the adoptive son, Dio Brando, who inherited the Joestar fortune. That scoundrel is no brother of mine, and he is no son. He killed my father and betrayed me. Killed your father? Well, I suppose that would make sense, for all of the treachery and all of the anguish he has caused the people of London and all of England itself. All of England? Yes. If you are truly Jonathan Joestar, then there's a lot you need to be caught up on. We need to hurry back to the base. The longer we stay out here, the more enemies we'll attract. Your fancy little powers, even they won't be able to overcome the darkness of the night. Zappelli and Jonathan would follow the masked vigilante, following him through the streets before eventually arriving to their base of operations. The door was shut and locked tightly behind them. Inside were men holding their weapons and checking them, the wounded being tended to, huddled up families and others being fed soup and other things. This is what we've had to do to survive. Sorry for the hostilities. We've been on edge for a while now. the masked vigilante would take off his disguise, revealing himself to be none other than Robert E.O. Speedwagon, a former Londoner thug himself, turned to the straight and narrow, and now a champion of the revolution. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Speedwagon," Jonathan would say as he shook his hand. "What exactly is going on around here?" Where do I even begin? You could say it all started 3 years ago after the supposed death of both you and your father. My condolences. Dio returned back to London, speaking of the tragic fate that had befallen your family. It was a great time of grief, as you Joestars were well known. Even at your funeral, the Prime Minister and his wife made an appearance. There was a short time of grieving, yes. Before long, Dio decided to throw a party, a celebration in honor of you and the family that was lost. Many affluent individuals from the scene made their appearance, including the Prime Minister. And it was a massacre. That's what it was. The doors were locked inside of the Joestar family mansion, and they were slaughtered. Whatever came out of that house was unholy, unnatural, evil is what it is. Ever since then, this great fog has fallen over our very country. It's nearly impossible for anyone to get out. Don't know how you buggers managed to get in. It wasn't very hard. We just entered in through the mountainside. I see. I guess they didn't suspect anyone would try to get out that way. Still, it must have taken you a while. It did, but we made good pace. We had come to put an end to Dio and his schemes, but I had no idea that things could have gone that far. Wait! What about Miss Irina? And Irina? I'm sorry, but I've never heard of the lass. Please, she's very important to me. I need to find her. Well, finding anyone these days is rather difficult. We've been doing what we can to survive, fighting against these monsters, but it's a lot easier said than done. In the beginning, they could only come out at night. We had the advantage in the daytime, but then that damned fog came in. At first, it was light, but then it got darker and darker and darker, until before long, now the bloody undead are able to walk through the streets, because the sun's been blotted out by seam of things. So, you are able to distinguish that the sun is their weakness, Zappelli would say. You made a great deduction. It wasn't me. It was my mentor. Your mentor? Yes, a chemist, Mr. Wesley Dodds from the United States. He had come here for a visit and lecture when this whole situation went down. He was the first Sandman. Sandman? It's what I call myself. This getup. He created a special gas. It was able to paralyze the body. We've examined some of these feral creatures, trying to create ways to slow them down. Regular bullets and things of that nature just weren't going to cut it, and we couldn't very well use the sun. We had one thing, though. A flower. A special flower from China. It's called the shoe black plant, or the hibiscus rose. The hibiscus rose, Zappelli would say. It is a flower that absorbs sunlight rather greatly. Yeah, we were able to mix the flower with a fine oil and melt it down. Then we coat some weapons and bullets with it. They do some damage, stun the enemy for a little bit, can even kill some of the lower regular runts, but for the more stronger and powerful ones, all it does is delay the inevitable. The flour has been imported from China for years now, but you know very well that since this whole situation took place, we don't get very much in terms of port or travel or trade or goods from anywhere. We've practically been cut off from the outside world. Because of that, we've had to make do with the supply that we can, but we've been running out for a while. It's very rare that we come across any of them. Any plants we do find have all but withered away and died. They have some power, but not very much. It's gotten to the point now where we have to be scarce with the number of bullets that we fire, and even then, we have to go digging out of the skulls or the bodies of the undead if we've managed to kill them. We dipped some of our daggers and our knives into the oil itself. They do some damage, minor at best. Can maybe cut off a limb or two, maybe sever off the head and destroy it if we get lucky. But again, that's only if we get lucky. And you say you've come up with a paralyzing toxin. My master did. It's a gas. I fire it with this gun here, paralyzing. It can slow them down just long enough. That's when we use our regular weapons, enriched with the power of the sun. With this combo, we've been able to put up a decent fight. Women and children, we keep them off the streets. We find secure shelters for them. The men, we go out during, what's perceived as daytime, and we try to take the fight to them as best we can. Even during this time, while they're able to move out during the fog, at least for whatever is considered daylight, they are a bit more weaker than they are at night when they have the full advantage. And on top of the fog to cover their tracks, we can't see them, but they can damn well see us. Going out at night to fight them is practically suicide, since we're already at a disadvantage and the night only gives them the added benefit. Where did the fog first come from? Zappelli asked. We believe it originated from Big Ben. That's said to be their base of operations, for Dio and for all of his monsters. I don't believe it, Jonathan would chime in. If I know Dio the way that I do, he wouldn't want to operate from Big Ben of all places. He'd be gallivanting in the mansion, the family home. That would be the most likeliest of options, Zappelli would say. Chances are Wotan is probably operating from Big Ben. Wotan? So you haven't come into contact with the Master of Darkness? What Master of Darkness? He is a sorcerer, powerful. He has been working with Dio, in likelihood, trying to build an army. An army? An army of what? Vampires, zombies, the undead and unholy, Zappelli would say. Building an army? And all that from this land of England? Oh, then what does he plan to do? Simple. Once all of England is under his control, he will then set his sights on moving all throughout the world. My guess, it would be easiest to move towards the west, to take out all of Europe, then make his way to Asia, maybe Africa in the southern hemisphere. Circling around, once this whole area is under his control, he can then set his sights towards the United States, to coat the world in a never-ending darkness of fog, this miasma. Well, what's taken him so long? He's only been operating from here for the last 3 years now. It takes time to cultivate. You could say that the balance between light and evil is like a scale, and he plans to tip the advantage of darkness to his favor. I can't say that any of all of this makes much sense to me, but I saw the way you two were able to handle yourselves back there. You've got some type of power, don't you? Some way to fight against this darkness? Indeed we do, and that is why we have come. Wotan will not gain the world, this I assure you. Jonathan would second that notion. I promise you, Mr. Speedwagon, all of this is getting brought to an end. Today. Today. There is no time like the present. We will make our way to Big Ben. Wotan will likely be waiting for us there. Once we destroy him, the rest will follow suit. Taking out the king, Speedwagon said. You know what they say. If you aim for the crown, you best not miss. I assure you, Mr. Speedwagon, we do not intend to. Zeppeli would look over to Jonathan, seeing the uneased look on his face. What is the matter, Joestar? It's Dio. I know he's not there. He'll be back at my family home. And what do you plan to do? I want to go to him, to stop him. We must focus on the bigger picture first, Joestar. Wotan is the key. If we defeat him, we cut off the source of power. This fog and everything else will be lifted. Then Dio will have nowhere else to hide. He will retreat like a coward. I assure you, someone like him who deals in this level of treachery, he is not loyal to anyone or anything except himself. Not even Wotan and his power can sway him. He might be in servitude to Wotan, but it will not last for long. What do you mean? Think about it. The second he knows that Wotan is defeated, he will feel as though a burden has been lifted off of his shoulders. He will believe that now he will have a chance to take over, but that will be his own undoing. I know you want Dio, and I promise you will get him. But for now, you must stay focused on the objective at hand. Wotan is the key. We destroy him, destroy the mask, and then there will be nothing left. Mask? What mask? Speedwagon would ask them. I have much to explain to you, and just a short time to do it. But I can say this. Gather all of your men, your fighting forces, anyone you can. We will make preparations. We will storm to Big Ben. That is where Wotan will be waiting. Once we defeat him, this fog, this curse will be lifted from London, and your people will be free. And Dio? Jonathan looked to Speedwagon. With a face filled with unrelenting determination and focus. When that's done, Dio will be handled by me. I promise you that. I like your moxie, kid. Let's do it. It's time to take our home back. JoJo, Speedwagon, and Zeppeli would stand together arm in arm, united forces of the light, to battle against the darkness. This concludes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, The Star of Fate. What if Jonathan Joestar was Dr. Fate? Season 1, Part 3. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that is to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow as we continue with What If Jonathan Joestar Was Dr. Fate? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, The Star of Fate, Season 1, Part 4. But that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.